Hello, hello. Hello and welcome to the official launch of the Freedom Potential Centre. While many places have been closing during the pandemic, we have a brand new venue that has just opened. We're celebrating it today with a whole lot of amazing speakers. We have performers, we have live art auction coming up. I'm Aldwyn Alternay, your MC for today. We will be going right through till about 9 o'clock or so with speakers and performers, etc. So hang around, it's going to be amazing. Our first educator and mentor who comes to us from Brisbane. He founded the Property Developer Network in 2012, which is the largest property networking group in Australia with 10,000 members. Welcome, Rob. Over to you.
Might start that again. Hi guys, Rob Flux here from Property Developer Network. Before telling you a little bit about our network and the services that we offer, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my journey because I think it's going to resonate very much with the journey that many of you are wanting to embark on or have already started to embark on. See, I started in my property journey actually all the way back when I was 18. I bought my first house at 18, bought my first investment property at 21, and actually owned my first house outright at the age of 24, and was on a very steep trajectory with regards to being able to retire early at the age of 38. But regrettably, got divorced at the age of 37 and had to hand a lot of those assets back, and then had to rebuild my journey the second time around and rebuild that wealth. And the second time round, I decided that I didn't want to do the traditional buy and hold method, which I had done previously, but instead what I wanted to do was actually force value onto property through the property development process. In doing so, I did all the right things, went and got educators and mentors to sit over the top of me. I spent about $150,000 on education. And in doing so, what I found was that there were two common issues in most of the education programs that were actually sitting out there. Firstly, they were very aspirational and inspirational. So they made you, I guess, feel motivated and make you want to take action, but they were very light on the detail on the how-to. So that was something that was really lacking that I found, even when I paid for the one-on-one mentoring side of things. And then when I did pay for that one-on-one mentoring, the guidance and advice that I was getting was very generic and wasn't very specific to my particular circumstances. As a result, I had paid all this money and I wasn't able to progress as fast as I actually wanted. And so I did something a little bit different. I actually read a book by a gentleman by the name of Napoleon Hill. The book was called Think and Grow. In that, I found a very powerful process called masterminding. And so what I decided to do was actually create my own little mastermind group. And I got 5 mates sitting around my kitchen table, all with the intention of trying to help each other's projects going forward. We knew that none of us knew everything, but collectively we were able to help each other's projects forward. And by paying it forward, we knew that each person would actually receive the value in advance, and we would get our value when we needed to at some point in the future where we didn't actually know when. Now, what happened was we weren't the only ones that actually were going through the same pain points and going through the same journey and paying for those education courses and not getting what they were wanting out of that. And so a mate would invite a mate and they would invite another mate. And all of a sudden we didn't fit around my kitchen table and didn't fit around my lounge, and actually started to get to a point where we went, well, why don't we actually turn this into something and actually go public? And we started our very first public networking group all the way back in August of 2012. I'm very proud to say there were 15 people in that group on that particular day, and now we are just shy of 10,000, growing exponentially, more than 8 years on. And what we've found is that we are not the only ones going through the exact same issues and challenges. And what I've seen in the community that I've now built, and we run networking events all around Australia, where we have live face-to-face events in times that aren't COVID, and we live stream our events as well, where we have industry experts every single month helping you with all the issues and challenges that you're going to have on your journey. We have people from within our community actually sharing real deals so you can understand the good, the bad, and the ugly of a project. And then we recreate that kitchen table experience in the masterminding at every single one of our events. And in doing that, we continue that pay it forward philosophy. And so all of our guys are paying it forward and helping each other go forward. Now, all of that is I guess, very organic. You know, there's not a structured learning process to that. And what I found was, as I was getting success, the community started coming to me and saying, hey, Rob, we can see the success you've got. Can you actually help us with the how-to? And can you help us with the mentoring? They were the two things, if you remember, that I said that were lacking in those other education programs. And as a result, we created a course that was very in-depth and very detailed called Property Development Formula. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Property Development Formula today. Martin, you just hands in the middle of the camera, mate. We can edit that out. It'll be fine. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Property Development Formula. It was intended, as I said, to solve those two very issues that we touched on. We are very detailed, in-depth, step by step by step. We look at state government policies. We look at local government policies. How and why do we see where the population is actually going to go? Where is the infrastructure spend going to go? We look at this in a very detailed way because we know that no matter how good we identify a site, know how well we run a site, if we don't sell the finished product at the end, then we never actually realize our cash. So understanding where ultimate client is actually going to go is actually the starting point, and we actually start to reverse engineer that all the way back. One of the biggest challenges in property development is that there are so many sites that are developable, but only about 90% of those are not actually profitable. And so half of the problem is trying to identify what are the issues and challenges in that site to say, what do we have to solve in order to prove that the challenges being solved are actually commercially viable. You see, that feasibility is this mythical thing where people think it's a magical spreadsheet that just says, well, you plug the numbers in and it gives you an answer. The reality is it comes down to big site analysis, understand the issues and challenges on the site, problems that need to be solved, and then you can start to work out if there's a commercial solution to that problem. Many people fail at that site analysis stage, so they don't actually identify the issue, the challenge, and the problem. And if you don't identify it, it never makes it into its feasibility. And if it never makes it into the feasibility, the spreadsheet looks really good, but when you actually run the project, it's always going to actually have that issue at hand, and it's going to have the problems and be non-profitable, which is one of the issues that we're trying to avoid for our members. So in this how-to, we do step by step. So how do you break down, where do I actually want to farm? How do we break down what is the development strategy that you're actually going to do? There are hundreds of different development strategies. So there's subdivisions, there's units, there's townhouses, there's rent per room accommodation, there's boarding houses, there's all sorts of things, there's renovations. So how do we work out what is your particular development strategy? We get you to lock in and focus on that development strategy and start to become an expert in that. Even when you've determined that development strategy, then the next challenge is, well, where are you actually going to start to farm that? Everyone wants to know, where's the hotspot, right? The challenge is a different hotspot for every single development strategy. So when we start to use your strategy and go back and reverse engineer and look at the state government strategic plans, and we start to look at the local government strategic plans, then we start to see where are the hotspots that fit your particular strategy. We can then start to look at the evidence of success that previous people have done on those strategies in those areas to prove that it is genuinely profitable. Now that takes a lot of manipulation of data. This is a data-driven business, and we take the emotion out of things and we start to look at how can we look at raw numbers underneath, and we don't want to be the pioneers going in, but rather we're going to see where other people have done it before us. What did they buy it for? What did they sell it for? And we start to reverse engineer their deals and say, well, do we think that if the demand is there, that we could actually duplicate that sort of success? So based on picking that strategy, we then try to help you build a roadmap to say a 5-year property action plan to say, if I start on this strategy now and I start small and then I step it up and then I step it up and then I step it up, can I actually build a 5-year roadmap where I get that mythical financial freedom goal that everybody is looking for? You see, financial freedom is a very misunderstood term. Financial freedom is not the big yacht, and it's not the fancy car, and it's not the big mansion that everybody has. It's actually a very simple definition. It's enough passive income to replace all your bills, to pay all your bills. So when you break it down and have a look at, well, what's it cost me to put fuel in the car and what's it cost me to send the kids to school? We typically will lead a fairly meager life right now. And when we start to look at that financial freedom goal, most people need somewhere between 50 and 100,000 passive income per year in order to pay bills. Now, in order to do that, it's actually quite simple. That's owning anywhere between 3 and 4 properties outright. And so when we put your 5-year property action plan together, we're going to show you a trajectory to show you how you can actually own those 4 properties outright in that 5-year period. Now, it sounds very difficult, but in reality, it's actually quite simple. We're going to start to scale your projects by building on the success of your previous project. So you've got a strategy in mind. Let's start to become an expert at that. When you become an expert at that, the next one is just a slightly bigger version of exactly the same thing. And the next one is just a slightly bigger version of the exact same thing. Then there's how and when do we get to the point where we can actually keep a property that we own outright? Well, it's simple. I'm going to give you a magic number. The magic number is 6, okay? If I can do a project that involves 6 dwellings of some description, and if we go for 20% profit on cost, which is the typical profits that most people are aiming for, then if I sell 5, that will pay down the costs, and then the 6th one is owned free and clear and outright. Now, when it's owned free and clear and outright, we now have a property that has a lot of equity that is going to grow over time, like any other property that might typically grow every 7 to 10 years. It might double in size. It's also 100% passive income, and that goes towards our financial freedom goal. Now that we've got equity, now that we've got that extra income, that improves our serviceability. So now we can start to scale and go into the next project. We can do that again, and we only need to do 4 properties owned outright for most people to become financially free. So we're going to help you to map out that journey for you and show you that it can, not only that it can be done, but we'll show you people that are actually doing that as well to prove to you what can be done. Now, the biggest challenge that I hear most people say is, that's great, but how do I do that when I've actually got no money to start with? Well, I'm going to give you a little secret. The secret is not about owning property. It's about controlling property. If you control property and never own it, then you never have to pay for it. And if you don't have to pay for it, and if you can add the value to the property through your own knowledge and skills and effort, then you're able to profit from the process. Now, there are many, many ways to profit by controlling property. As a matter of fact, we teach you 7 different ways in order to do that. But I'll give you just one example to show you what is physically possible. Imagine that a landowner has a property that is developable. They know it's developable, but they don't know how. Here are you that have just learnt the skills on how to do that. So you could joint venture with that property owner, never have to purchase the property, and share the profits with them. Now, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So you're going to start to build your experience and build your knowledge and also build your nest egg. And as you build your nest egg, then you can go in and do the next deal. There are many ways of doing things like that. As I said, we'll actually teach you 7 of those different techniques that will help you to do that with little to no money of your own. Now, don't get me wrong, money is needed, but it doesn't necessarily have to be yours. And so we will show you different ways that you can get joint venture partners involved and private equity money and all sorts of things like that, where you can start to leverage the knowledge that you've got, because that is a valuable commodity. If you understand the needs of the person on the other side of the transaction, you can solve their needs. And their needs are, well, I've got some money to invest, but I don't know how to invest it. You've got the opposite side of the problem. You've got the knowledge, but you don't have the money. So together, you can form a really good and strong bond. We can actually do developments where other people can't, just by joining forces with others. Whew, that's a lot to cover already. Trying to think what else you guys might want to know and some of the issues and challenges that I had on my journey. And it was one of the biggest ones was belief that it was actually possible. That took quite a while to actually get my head around the fact that property development is actually all about headspace. And by being able to believe in what we do, we overcome limiting beliefs that actually are stopping us from hitting these glass ceilings that we put in front of ourselves. I can't find a deal is one of the biggest ones. Well, we teach you how and where to farm. I can't do it with no money. Well, I've just shown you how you can do it with no money down. All of those sorts of challenges, as we start to break down the limiting beliefs, then what you'll start to see then is that as a property developer, we are problem solvers. And so our job is to identify the problem, then learn the skills in order to do that, and then execute on that. If we can solve that problem, then we will profit from the process, because the ultimate buyer is somebody who is time poor and knowledge poor, and they are willing to pay us a premium for the privilege of us adding that value into their life, and the ability for us to then go in and solve that problem so that they can buy a finished home. They want to buy their dream home, but they don't want to go through all the hassle of trying to work out how they do that along the way. So us in our program, so we help you in that journey. We help you with mentoring and coaching. We help you with the actual how-to and the skills. The coaching side of things helps you with regards to giving you the motivation and that headspace, solving that headspace problem that's stopping you from taking the action. And then when you are taking the action, then the mentoring side of things then helps you with knowing that you're taking the right action, because just taking action alone is not enough. It needs to be the right action to actually get the outcomes that you're looking for. We do that through a combination of face-to-face live events. We do that through group coaching and group mentoring, and we do that through one-on-one coaching and one-on-one mentoring. A powerful part of our system is the group coaching and the group mentoring processes, because we know that, like me, when I had my problem, I was not the only one to have that exact same issue. And so we know that if we can help you on that group described before, we just take that to a level of steroids where you're looking at people that are having problems 2, 3, 5 years down the track for problems that you've not yet had, but you're learning very early in your journey how to solve those before you actually get there. If you're interested in our program, it's called Property Development Formula. We would very much, I guess, love to have to chat to you about how that's involved. Let me tell you one thing that it's not, okay? It is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I can promise you that. What it is a get-rich scheme. You need to put hard work in. It is not easy. It is going to take a minimum of 15 hours every week towards learning the skills and putting that into practice and doing the things that need to be done. But what
people are out there buying toilet paper right now, right? And some people are closing down businesses. So it's fantastic to see a new facility that is supporting local business and supporting speakers to get their message out to the world. And how have things been for you personally since COVID?
Our business has ramped up exponentially. The reality is that whilst a lot of people are going through financial distress, it actually creates opportunity. And it's not about, I guess, taking advantage of people in bad situations, but rather working with them to add value into their lives. So that example I gave before with working with the landowner, or if we can work with them, then they get a better outcome than they would have all by themselves. So rather than having banks foreclose on them, how do we actually help them to actually get a good outcome? So that it's all about that pay it forward approach.
Yeah, well, I've noticed lately, just in Southport area, there is where I live, houses are being knocked down, 4 townhouses are going up, high rises are going up. Like, development is hot right now, and places are being snapped up really quickly. So I don't know if it's people coming from Sydney and Melbourne up to the Gold Coast and.
Well, from a population perspective, we're projected to grow 10 million people over the next 25 years. Wow. So they all have to live somewhere.
Amazing. Have you noticed that too? Have you noticed in Brisbane that the development's going crazy?
Oh, well, that's my trade. Absolutely, I notice it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Rob Flux. And once again, your website for people to connect with you.
So developernetwork.com.au, or just Google us on Property Developer Network.
Wonderful.
No worries.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Thanks, guys. Bye for now.
Thank you for being our first guest speaker today. Very exciting. We are at the Freedom Potential launch. We're at the Potential launch today, and we have a whole lot of amazing speakers coming up. We have some performers from Byron Bay. We have a live art auction. We are in Vasty Lakes, and this is a very exciting development here with this venue because it is a one of a kind. It is actually the only centre on the Gold Coast available for hire with an all-in-one live venue set up for live streaming virtual local events. There's a whole podcasting area here. We've got Martin Renault operating all the cameras and all the equipment today, live streaming out to you. This whole initiative actually was started by Martin Renault and Anastasia Grace Dior, who is an amazing, beautiful couple, newly married. They're gorgeous and they are very switched on when it comes to events, and they've been around the traps a long time, so they know what they're doing when it comes to production and when it comes to being your best self in life, as Anastasia works with people on that. Now, very excited to introduce our next guest speaker. We have an amazing lady coming up. She is known as, okay, so we're actually going to come back to you in 2 minutes with a new live stream. We're going to cut, and then very shortly we're going to be coming back to you with the amazing intuitionist Elena Massey, followed by the other half of the Wisdom Weaver, which is the holistic healer Julie Hogan. So we have two amazing speakers coming up next, so stay tuned. We're going to be cutting here, bringing in a new live stream. So hang around. Freedom Potential Centre launch here in Varsity Lakes. Congratulations for the official launch. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a great lineup coming up. So we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.